Well, greetings and salutations, test takers. Happy Thanksgiving. Lots to be thankful for this year. I hope you too have an attitude of gratitude. Hopefully, maybe you get your tests done before the end of the year, and that's certainly something to give thanks for, right? Get to leave the testing fantasy land. We're here every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Arizona time. I haven't missed a Tuesday in, I don't know, 5 years. Woo! So I'm going mobile, though. We did a little mobile tryout. So I think I'll be leaving the studio here, take this show on the road, so to speak. Tell us what test you're taking, where you're joining us from, and I'll take care of some housekeeping, and then we'll get busy trying to help you with whatever we can. All right, let's see. If you are looking for a free supplement to your paid study materials, there's nothing better than my YouTube channel. It's completely free. There's no upsells. I don't sell merch. I don't sell channel memberships. It's completely free. I've organized the channel around your series exam. So if you're taking the SIE, for example, I have 4 playlists. The first playlist is Get to Know Your SIE, basically. It's a podcast series, gives you a nice overview, shows you what it looks like cover to cover. I'd rather you read the book cover to cover, but if you're not, that gives you a good idea. Hey, Chris, I'm in the middle of a live stream. My brother. So anyways, what was I going to say? Oh, and then the second playlist is an explication of the SIE content outline. There's an SIE cram course, which is the equivalent of my 3-day SIE class. And then there's a bunch of practice tests and practice questions. So all the exams work that way. There's a playlist. The videos in the playlist are in suggested watch order as well. Now, if you're looking for a particular topic, please use the search bar. There are over 2,200 videos. You don't want to be looking for a needle in a haystack. So put whatever you're looking for into the channel search bar. I get asked and answer the same question many times. There's probably a video on it. In fact, my guy asked me today, and I said, put it in the search bar, and you can watch me 10 minutes show somebody how to do it. So put in accrued interest or margin or, fiscal policy, whatever it is you're looking for. And I'm sure there's some content that will magically appear for you. So that's how to find particular topic. You want to binge, use the series playlist. You're looking for a particular topic, use the search bar. If you are looking for a paid supplement to your, primary study materials, there's nothing better than a Kaplan Q Bank. On the Series 7, for example, you can get the Kaplan Q Bank for as little as $55.80 with my Guru 15 discount code at checkout. That discount code works for all Kaplan products and services. And then Test Geek Brian, my brother from another mother, has given our viewers a 20% discount on his content. He's a pretty good distiller, good bridge between your paid study materials and the actual test. All in on Brian with his video course and his PDF and his practice exam, which I think has the best correlation. You're in for about $100 for that paid supplement. You are not alone. One of the reasons we do Tuesdays is so you know that you're not alone. We have several test-taking tribes or communities associated with the YouTube channel. On the Reddit, we have R Series 6 for Series 6 test takers. We have R Series 7 for SIE and 7 test takers. We have R66 for 63, 65, 66 test takers. And we have Series 24, our subreddit for 9, 10s, and 24s. We also have a Facebook community. Our Facebook community is called Baby Brokers Doing Hat Tricks. A baby broker is a term of endearment. It's rookies in the securities industry. And a hat trick is 3 successes in a limited time frame. So, they get an SIE 766 or SIE 663. We have over 2,300 members in that community. There's always somebody looking to start a study group. I know somebody posted this afternoon about a Series 7 study group that she wants to form. So if you're interested in that, just go over that Facebook community. You can find her post where she is looking for somebody to do that. Now, tonight, if you win the coaching call, we do that at the end of our time together. You don't win tutoring at a date and time of your choice. You win a coaching call. And to claim your coaching call, you would go to my booking page. I told you everything on the YouTube channel is free, but the booking page, hardly anything is. But coaching calls are free for winners of our drawing. You just register and then you show up, and I ask you what you want to talk about and we knock it out. So that's available for you on there. We do a book club. We just finished 1929 last week by Aaron Sorkin. Great book club meeting. When I find a title, then I put it up there, and you can join us on for that as well. I do a weekly Q&A jam session. Again, that kind of fades off the booking page when it hits 10. So if I'm telling you something is on the booking page and it's not there, it's because it's kind of maxed out. All right, let's see what we can help you with in terms of content. Let me get rid of that. Whoop. There we go. I'm trying to figure out where that's at. Let's see. There we go. Boom. Boom. Okay. Oh, my goodness. It looks like I'll be here for a while tonight. Hello, Dean. I have my Series 7 scheduled for December 26. My company gave us Pass Perfect. I bought Kaplan on my own. I think it was a good choice. What you're looking for in those two sets of study materials is confirmation. Pass Perfect talks about it. Kaplan talks about it. Confirmation. Pass Perfect talks about it. Kaplan doesn't. Non-confirmation. Kaplan talks about Pass Perfect doesn't. Non-confirmation. I recommend Kaplan because it's a little lean. Pass Perfect is pretty fat, a good way. I mean, it's way more stuff than you need. And I always think having more stuff is better than not having not enough stuff, right? So, but it's fat. I think STC and Kaplan are just about right in terms of the Goldilocks. This porridge a little too hot. Kaplan breaks it up by unit. That's true. I purchased Brian Lee's Test Geek program as well. How do I feel about the Kaplan and Pass Perfect videos? Well, I don't know about Pass Perfect videos because I've never watched a Pass Perfect video. I know the instructors at Kaplan very well, and I like the Kaplan videos. In fact, they asked me to participate in those videos, and I said, well, gee, why would I do that? I have a channel where I have videos. So I don't know how I would make that comparison. But what I use the videos for, it's not mutually exclusive. Just make sure you don't have too many voices in your head. But what I would use the videos for is to put a dent in the Kaplan or Pass Perfect reading, or to consolidate after the reading. So I like videos as a way to put a dent in whatever you're going to read in that unit, or do the reading and then use a video to kind of consolidate that learning. So that's how I would use the videos. By the way, if you do have a question, it's helpful for me if you put it in a format where I can see it a little better in the chat. So like if you're taking SIE, tell me what exam you're taking, SIE or capital S7, capital Q by your question. And that way I can kind of be more helpful. Because how they test on things, there's a lot of overlap, and how they ask it on one exam might be different than how they ask it on another. All right, let's see where we at here in the chat. Taking the 63 on Monday. So this is Tuesday. Okay. As of now, I'm just going on Pass Perfect. Those are great scores. I don't know what you didn't do well. Did you get a passing score on Brian's 63 exam? Because that's what counts. So Adam, I'd like to know if that's a passing score. So, there's no A, B, C, D here. It's pass, fail. So if you pass Brian's test with all those other Pass Perfect scores, I think you're in excellent shape. Even with no matter what you did on Brian's, I think you're in good shape. As I mentioned, Pass Perfect goes in the weeds a little bit. So yeah, plan on test day. Well, I see here 1, 2, 3, 4. You've done 5 practice exams. I wouldn't do more than 1 a day. And if I were your corporate trainer, I'm not, Adam, I would just want you to commit. How many more data points are we going to get? How many intellectual inventories are we going to do between now and test time? Maybe 2, 3. On 63 particularly, though, I would really want you to exhaust the Q bank. So Pass Perfect's Q bank, make sure you exhaust it because you want to practice to only rehearse. I don't say that with other exams, but you can run into a time constraint on the 63. So make sure you exhaust that Q bank. Can I go over? Absolutely. I'm getting confused by federal covered IAs and IAs. Can I get a quick rundown? You certainly can. The investment advisory firm is either going to register with the SEC or the state, never both. I had somebody on a practice test question said both. I said, that is a really bad miss. So it's either going to be federally covered or SEC. The National Securities Market Improvement Act, NIMSMIA, created 2 things: federally covered advisors and federally covered securities. So now sometimes on the test, they'll tell you it's a federally covered investment advisor. Sometimes they won't. But if I have 100 million to 110, 100 million assets under management 110, I can choose. And I don't know of any investment advisory who would ever choose to be state, given they can register with the SEC. So that's 100, 110. Well, over 110 or higher, I'm federally covered. I'm going to file my Form ADV with the SEC. If I have less than 100, I'm going to register the investment advisory firm with the state. Right? So let's say I'm going to set up an investment advisory firm here in the state of Arizona. I don't have $100 million of assets under management, so I'm going to register my investment advisory firm, Anvil Rock Investment Management, with the state of Arizona. So I'm state covered, right? So it's either one of the other. Now, the reason that's important is a flow is because now the questions will tip or teeter based on that pivot, right? If you're reading a question that says federally covered investment advisor, or they say Anvil Rock Investment Management has AUM of, you should be able on that to determine. If I say 138 million, you should know that's a federally covered investment advisor. If I say 80 million, you should know it's state. Now, the reason that's important now, because now the question is, does the investment advisor rep have to register with a state? And again, that is dependent on whether it's federally covered or not. If I'm a federally covered investment advisor rep of a federally covered investment advisor, I only register in states in which I have a place of business. Period, full stop. You know, I'm coming to you from off-grid northern Arizona. Not large pools of people here or large pools of money, right? So if I was looking for a large pool of money that's, relatively nearby, it would be Nevada. And so I want to solicit in Nevada. Do I have to register as an investment advisor rep with the state of Nevada? If I'm federally covered, the answer is no. I have no place of business. I got 1,000 clients there. If I'm state covered, then I'm going to have to register if I have more than 5 retail clients, right? So that is easy to get confused about. So I would suggest you read RTFQ, read the question, and first say, okay, is this federally covered or state? And then read further and then say, okay, it's an investment advisor rep. Okay, it's an investment advisor rep of the state, or it's an investment advisor rep federally covered. So there's a quick rundown for you. Hi, Dina Brian. Happy Thanksgiving. Yeah. I didn't know how busy we'll be tonight. Brian has Thanksgiving festivities already in motion, and so that's why he's not with us here today. He said, hey, I got this thing going on, Dina, I won't be there. I go, that's okay. This is my live stream, and Brian's kind enough to join me on most Tuesdays, but, if his significant other family, he's got his priorities right. Me, not so much. Happy Thanksgiving, Stephen. I think we have a lot to be thankful for in this season for sure. 66 tomorrow. Sabrina, what are you doing here? So Sabrina, the most important thing for you tonight is to get some rest. I don't know about you, but I'm tired. My reading skills are greatly diminished. So try it as much as possible, as bright-eyed and bushy-tailed as you can be tomorrow. Remember the 2 mantras, RTFQ, read the full question, get real comfortable with what you're being asked. RTFA, read the full answer set, see what answers are offered to you. Most importantly, be confident in the execution of your study plan. Be confident in yourself, and most importantly tomorrow, be confident in your answers. So we are sending you some good energy. Come back next Tuesday and, do the Victor Lab with us. 65 in 20 days. Missed 20 last go around, using only the Kaplan Q Bank. Well, gee, I don't know why you'd only use the Kaplan Q Bank. There's so many resources out there. There's, a whole bunch of free resources on the YouTube channel. 20 in 20 days. Unit 3 missed 20 last go around using. So the last go around you only use Kaplan Q Bank. Well, I'm glad you've added some more arrows to your quiver, more ammunition, more resources. Listen, it is not time in these test taking things to be frugal. I understand sometimes when you're starting out, you may not have the resources, but really take advantage of all the free resources. If you have the resources, buy another Q Bank or buy another course. I don't think you should be frugal or monogamous about the resources and trying to pass your test. I'm not. Oh, you're telling me you're taking 6? Well, there you go. We call that the hat trick, right? So those are 3. How about your SIE? You already have that done? I'm not sure these are victories already, or these are future victories, or Have you done your SIE? Give us a little more information. Series 7 in 2 weeks from Arizona. Happy Thanksgiving. By the way, I would be interested in the chat. What do you think? What are Tuesdays? Are we going to run into like Christmas? And I'm not sure if we should compete with Christmas. I mean, what is that, 23rd or something? So maybe we'll go dark. But if you guys want to stick around for the rest of the year, I'm more than happy to do it. Happy Thanksgiving. Take my series next. We're looking for to celebrate with you in the cigar lounge. All right. Woohoo. I did the live thing. Thanks for helping with the field test. It came out pretty good, I thought, audio and video wise. And Yasha, I don't know how I became such a fragile old man, because I used to travel the world. I have 2 completely full passports. I had a little netbook about this big, and I could run everything off that. My slides, whatever I'm doing, my emails. And then, I built the studio, and I got like 3 27-inch screens. I got, all kinds of stuff. Now I'm like, oh my God, I have to be in the studio. I can't do it off my laptop. So I've said to myself, hey, I got to get back on the road. So I went to the Prescott Cigar Lounge there to, field test it and see if we could actually do this thing without the studio. All right. Woohoo. Okay. Our victory toast, Sam. Ooh. Is Johnny Walker Blue. That is our toasting beverage. For those you who haven't joined us before, we toast testing victories. And somebody told me they were going to start toasting with us in their victory. So we're going to do Johnny Walker Blue. Cheers. That's some good shit. Other thing we do, ask not for whom the bell rings. It rings for Sam. The other thing we do is ring the bell. That comes from It's a Wonderful Life with Jimmy Stewart. I'm sure you can see it on TV every holiday season. It's there. And the angel, Clarence is his name, says when you hear a bell, that's an angel getting their wings. And so we got a kind of a version of that. And Sam, I'm also in your honor going to cut a nice Oliva torpedo. And I'm going to light that up for you at some point. Probably just not yet. All right. Woo. Well, that was an accident. I didn't mean to do that. Let me see here. Boom, boom. Let's get back there. Let's get our comments going. Oh, man. Gee whiz. So there's Yasha. We did Sabrina. There we go. I'm taking the 66 tomorrow. I think we just did that. Oh, what? You will get a lot of trust. Yeah, I would know the difference between a simple and a complex trust and a revocable and irrevocable. But really, Sabrina, I don't want you learning new things the night before. I think you maybe see a couple trust questions. And then the trustee, one that shows up quite a bit is the trustee has to manage the trust, not based on what the beneficiaries would like, according to the trust, document, whatever the terms of the trust are. So a couple. But if you tell me you missed your mark yesterday or tomorrow because of trust, I'm going to say, nah, you had bigger problems elsewhere. 63 Saturdays, 80 unachievable. Do you think Achievable Kaplan is more effective? I think Kaplan, my biggest gripe with Achievable, I'm not a member of the Achievable cult. And, I have haters. I know you're surprised I have haters. I probably had haters because before I was on social media, but I didn't know they existed. And, Michael Weiss was telling me, they should sue you. He's always telling somebody should sue me for, I said, hey, Michael, truth is an absolute defense. And the Achievable guys at Achievable know who I am. They know where to find me. The only gripe I have with Achievable is the variance in practice test scores and practice questions. And, Brandon Rith, who I'm a big fan of, he was their content expert. And I'm not sure if Ken Finnan's doing it like volunteering to be their subject matter expert. Kaplan's subject matter expert, because Brandon's not at Achievable anymore. And Tyler, is not a NASA or FINRA expert. But that being said, Chuck Lowenstein is the subject matter expert at Kaplan. He lives for NASA exams. And so I think Kaplan is much, much more effective on NASA exams. I think on the SIE, it doesn't matter. I think on 7, it can put you at risk if it's your primary, just because you get a practice test score that has too much variance. So the answer to the question is Kaplan. Is the definition of an agent an individual? Well, yeah, it's not a definition, but agents are individuals. They're living, breathing human beings walking planet Earth. Sometimes, Silas, I would have agents who worked for my broker dealer, and they'd ask me to make a check payable to their LLC. And I said, your LLC isn't an agent of the broker dealer. You, the living, breathing human being, natural person, are. Okay, now let me see the rest of your definition. Is an agent an individual? The answer is yes, a natural person. Other than a broker dealer, no, you're wrong. Any part of a statement is wrong. It's wrong. You as an agent don't affect transactions for your account and others. Your broker dealer does. You're an agent of the broker dealer. So I don't know where this definition is coming from, but this is not the definition. An agent of a broker dealer, this other than a broker dealer affects transaction for their own account? No. Or others? No. It's somebody who represents the broker dealer, customers of the broker dealer, and the broker dealer is charging the markup or markdown or commission. Should I include or exclude other than the BD? I'm not sure what you mean by that, Silas. I'm not sure where this is coming from, but this is not how it gets tested. Agent of the broker dealer. That's why you're taking a 16, my friend. It has become an agent of the broker dealer. Period. Full stop. And you're an individual. Broker dealers affect transactions for their own account, inventory. They trade from inventory as a dealer principal, or for customers of the BD. So Silas, the customer isn't your customer, he's the BD's customer. And we charge that customer an commission for acting as their agent. I'm a little concerned about where this definition is coming from. Be careful. I know I'm an OG guy to guy, get off my lawn, but be careful on my chat GPT and AI. They hallucinate and they're scraping the web when they're training those models. And so this maybe looks like something came from like chat GPT or something. Hat trick done. All right. Woo, Anthony. Cheers, my friend. Want to give a piece of advice? Look, now listen, I got to tell you something. Anthony, I love his profile picture. He looks like somebody who it's worth taking advice from. You look squared away, my friend. I like that haircut. You could almost pass Marine Corps inspection with that high and tight. Want to give a piece of advice to everyone studying. Help me. Study like your job depends on it. Well, Anthony, some jobs do. I always joke, two great motivators, Anthony, are fear and greed. Fear, you don't pass, you're out of here. Greed, you do pass. Woo! I know some firms give I had a firm, Anthony, where I had like 100% pass rate. And I don't think I was chatting myself up too much, but I thought, man, I said, we are on fire. Anyways, this guy come up at break and he said, hey, Dean, I don't want to rain on your parade, but do you know we get a $5,000 bonus when we pass our test? And I said, well, no, I didn't know that. I said, that'll take care of a lot of motivational difficulties. Read the book cover to cover. I'm so, Anthony, love that advice. I get asked all the time, do you have to read the book cover to cover? The answer is yes. I don't know why people think they ask me the 50th time and all of a sudden I'm going to say, well, no, I'm just making that up. Read the book cover to cover. The first time I read the book, Anthony, cover to cover, I'm just talking about me. Take it for what it's worth. Anything I'm going to do, I like to read a book cover to cover in as close to one setting as possible. And I don't take notes. I just want to see what it looks like. I want to get a lay of the land. Do some recon. I've had people, Anthony, who highlight the whole book, their first reading. And I go, well, listen, you might want to buy a different color highlighter and go do that again. I had, Anthony, somebody who was incredulous when I said that. They go, well, how long is that going to take? I said, well, sit down for an hour and see how many pages you read and then divide that. And I'll tell you how many hours, right? You read rate doing that. I told you in our book club, Anthony, we did 1929. That's a 1,000-page book. So, obviously the guy leading the book club, I got to make sure I read it. And I thought, okay, how many hours am I going to have to take to read this thing? So in an ideal world, Anthony, I would say read it cover to cover twice. Once to get the lay of the land, and then when you'll better inform, now you go through with a highlighter and know what is important. Particularly people who have maybe missed their mark the first time. I always want them to revisit that and read that book again, because now based on their first attempt and actually going into the cave to slay the dragon, they have a better idea of what's important about that book. Sometimes people, you're watching this video replay, ask, what book? As a minimum, your study materials should come with a book. At Kaplan, they call it the License Exam Manual. I don't know what they call it, Past Perfect, STC. Good advice, Anthony. That's great advice. Jeff, hey, I scheduled my exam for, scheduled my exam for January 24th. Started studying yesterday, reading chapter 1. Do you think I think it's plenty of time. Plenty of time. This will be my third attempt. I scored, and this will be my fourth attempt. Any advice? Well, Jeff, we do. So my experience has been when people come close to passing and don't pass, it's not usually knowledge deficit. It's usually test taking anxiety. It's something like that. So I would examine that part of your attempts and say, okay, in this previous attempts, what did I do? Did I change answers? Did I, we want to look for something to change up, because very rarely do I think third or fourth attempt it's a knowledge deficit problem. I have a young lady I'm working with, and she's not a good test taker, and there's very successful men and women in our business who are not good test takers. I said, listen, you don't get your self-esteem wrapped up in this. We're eventually going to get this done. I'm going to drag you across the finish line somehow, some way. But listen, I'm a tutor. I'm not a sports psychologist. I'm not a therapist. But we got to look for something different. And in her case, I told her not to change answers, right? Because she has a tendency to outsmart herself, and you certainly don't want to do that. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. Hi, Dean. I'm taking the series for a third time. Wow. Pouring over STC material in some cap, and I can't help but feel nervous I won't pass. If you miss by 1%, Nima, I don't think you should be nervous. I mean, you only have to find the Series 4. Here's some good news for you. Unlike, the Series 7, the 4 Q bank is not, as deep. What I mean by it's not as deep is that you're not going to be running into on your third time a whole bunch of different questions. So I think you can remediate, and you should be able to get that done. I'm not sure what your practice test scores have been. And so I'd be interested in that data point. What were your practice test scores the second time using STC and some Kaplan, just to see where that data point is? The one thing you got to do, Nima, is overlearn, right? So make sure you can take down any draw. Oh, well, I think you're doing it in the reverse order. I like that. I think the 9 is mainly sales supervision. So both Nima 4 and 9 sales supervisor. And Nima, I'm not sure about your first two draws, but on both the 9 and the 4, I think people think it's going to be a whole bunch of exotic option strategies. There are some advanced option strategies that you don't encounter in other exams. In fact, I had Nima, I don't know if it was you, but somebody was asking about some help with synthetic options. And, I sent them a video. But I think they underestimate how much of that's going to be sales supervision. Now, Tatey, I hope I apologize if I'm getting that right. I think, in theory, you did the right thing, because the 10 is a real slog, and the 9 should be much easier than the 10. So we'll see. 10 tomorrow, so I love it. We got some sales supervisors in the house, some general securities and the principals in the house, some would-be registered option principals in the house. I love it. Taking my 10 tomorrow, used all your playlists, scoring 60s on practice exams on past perfects. Any recommendations? Well, tomorrow it's over. Goated at finances. I like that. So I'll just call you the GOAT. So tonight, you're not going to learn anything new. It's not worth trying to learn anything new. I'd be putting on your game face. Just get some rest and go down there. And as I always say, RTFQ, RTFA. Now, good news in Past Perfect. This is for all Past Perfect students. I do feel like starting a support group for Past Perfect test takers, because, but the variance, here's the good thing. I think earlier, I don't know if you were with us, I was telling somebody at Past Perfect that, Past Perfect really takes people in the weeds and kind of fat. But that's what's great about that, is I said too much is better than not enough. And I would think the variance from your practice scores to the actual exam, particularly since you're using Past Perfect, are going to be in your favor. And I think that variance is going to be about 5 points. Now, we would like to have a bigger margin of safety than that. But hey, I think you're going to be okay. I'm turning off my little heater here. There we go. 66. Cheers, Brittany. All right. In your honor. And of course, you get your wings. Woo. I didn't pass Brian test and think you didn't. Well, there you go. But you can't let that bother you. Confidence is so important. I mean, I can't prove it, but confidence is worth a lot of points. So you just got to let it go. It's memory work. It's 7, 13, and 20. 7, 13, and 20. So 7%, we stop trading for 15 minutes. 13%, we halt trading for 15 minutes. 20, we call it a day. AR and how the monthly payments work. Oh, well, very testable. Damien, I'm not sure if you passed or not. This is for all. Let me see before I say all. I think you could see this on the SIE, low probability. I think you definitely could see it on Series 7. I think you definitely could see it on Series 6. I think you definitely see it on 65. So I think of a variable annuity, Damien, as a mutual fund with an insurance wrapper. And so when Damien gets to 59.5, I say, what would you like to do? Would you like a lump sum distribution? Would you like a random distribution? Would you like to annuitize and turn this into a check, a monthly check that you can't outlive? He goes, wow, that sounds pretty good. I said, well, Damien, if you choose life only, very testable, that'll give you the largest monthly check. And I said, when you get your first check, I want you to call me. He says, why? I said, I just want you to check in. I said, Damien, what was your first check? He said, $1,000. I said, don't get too hung up on this, Damien, but when you annuitize, we turn your accumulation units. Those are the shares you had in the separate account. I mean, to say that Damien has 10,000, accumulation units in a separate account intellectually is the same thing as he has 6,000 shares in a mutual fund, because that's what the separate account has. For accounting purposes, we're turning those into annuity units. And we have an assumed interest rate called the AIR. And so your first check was 1,000. Next month check is going to be either the value of annuity unit, Damien, is $10. I'm just giving information. So it's either going to be 1,010, 1,000, or 990, depending on the performance of the separate account versus the AIR. He goes, what's the assumed interest rate? I go, well, I'm not going to tell you because it'll just cloud your mind. He said, well, damn it, Dean, I want to know. I said, okay, I'll regret this. The AIR is 4%. So if you get more than 4, you're going to get 1,010. We get the AIR, your check's 1,000. We get less than the AIR. Even if it's 3% positive performance, it goes down. So give me a call, second check. He goes, Dean, I just got my second check. It's 1,010. I said, well, that means we did better than 4. He goes, how much better? I said, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it's 4.1 or 4.2, doesn't matter. And he said, well, I think I got it. I said, well, call me again because, nobody really gets it till the check goes down. So until the check goes down, let's talk each month. He calls me, third check. He goes, Dean, same as last, 1,010. I said, we got the AIR. He said, really, you want me to call you every month? I said, until the check goes down. Fourth check, he goes, Dean, I got 1,000. It went down $10. He's in retirement typically, by the way, so we're not going to bounce him all over the place. His check isn't going to go from 1,000 to 2 to 200. No. I say, okay, well, that means we got less than the AIR. He goes, how much? I said, doesn't matter. 3 is still positive performance, but it's still going to go down. It's called the law of averages, the law of large numbers. So Damien, insurance companies are the masters of that. And boy, we have some good looking people in their profile pictures. There's another guy. Damien, you look good. I like that. Know how to tie. Thank you so much for joining us on LinkedIn. We broadcast to Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. YouTube is our preferred platform, but it always warms my heart when I see somebody joining us from LinkedIn or Facebook. Okay, well, there you go. I think I just went over that. Did I not? So put that on my channel search bar, AIR or monthly payments, and it'll come up again, right? The assumed interest rate is what makes the checks go up and down. So once you annuitize, your monthly check is either going to be more than, less than, or the same based on the AIR. I'm pretty sure I have a couple of videos with that. Confusing taxation, Martha, for the Series 6. Well, I would like to have more information than that. Our taxation as it relates to the mutual fund shareholder or the mutual funds in general. I think the big thing, remember, is you lose tax control over your investments of mutual fund. So I don't decide when to realize, the capital gains, for example. The capital gains tax is a transaction-based tax. The easy way not to pay it is not to transact. The mutual fund decides that. And if they decide to turn the security back into money, it's going to be a short-term or long-term capital gain distribution based on the firm's holding period. If I redeem at NAV, again, then that will be taxable to me based on the difference between my cost basis, public offering price, and sales proceeds NAV, what is short-term or long-term, and how long I was in the fund. Now, even if I tell the fund I don't need the dividends or the capital gains distribution, reinvest them, very testable. Funds have what are called DRIPs, dividend reinvestment programs. It's a DRIP. And I say, hey, listen, I don't need the money. Just buy me more fund shares. The IRS says, well, as far as we're concerned, Dean, you could have got the capital gains distribution. You could have got the dividends. And even though you're reinvesting, you still owe taxes on those proceeds because you could have got it. Text next Saturday. I've only used capital, and what should I do to prepare until then? I'd like you to do a practice test, right? Next Saturday, what's your practice test scores? Do we have any practice test scores? Until a little less than 2 weeks, about 7-10 days out. So that sounds about where you're at. You need to take a practice test to take an intellectual inventory, get a mark, and see where we're at as you come down that back stretch, right? So I would say I want you to take a practice test. If you've already done a couple, let us know what your scores are. You're not taking practice tests mindlessly to try and learn things. You're taking practice tests to do an intellectual inventory, get a mark, and see where you're at. So you know whether you need to, back off a little bit or accelerate, depending on where you're at based on that. Well, I doubt you'll see duration on Series 7. Duration usually shows up on NASA exams. It's just the fancy word for volatility. So you would be fine if every time you heard the word duration, you just transferred as volatility. So, let's talk about a particular bond. Bonds with longer term, and lower coupons are the most volatile. So this is a shop the answer set question. On your exam, they say, which would be the most volatile? You're simply going to look at the bonds that they've offering to you. You're going to go to longest maturity and then the lowest coupon. Long and low. Long and low. Now, that's the same thing if I called that duration. Which bond has the highest or longest duration? Same thing. Long and low. Right? Again, I think you'd see that more on a 65, 66, the term duration. That's just the fancy word for volatility. Right? People get upset sometimes when I'm teaching this concept of duration and they'll get mad at me because I don't mention it has convexity, it's a nonlinear relationship. Who cares? It's just a fancy word for volatility. Finish the Series 7 book. Well, hey, that deserves a ring. I wish more people would do that. What topics should I spend more time on? Do you already have them posted on your page? I don't, but I can tell you munis, options, and mutual funds. Function 3, investments, is 91 questions on the Series 7. Of those 91 questions, 60 of them, plus or minus, are options, mutual funds, and munis. So, about 20 minus plus or minus 5 on each of those. So that's where you should, topics you should spend time on. For Series 7 book, would you read the book cover to cover? Yes. Well, cover to cover, unit by unit are the same thing at the end of the day, are they not, Stephen? I mean, right? If you're reading the book cover to cover, that means you're going to go from unit 1 to unit 20. So how many chapters a day? Whatever you're up for, right? I don't really think chapters per day. What I, Stephen, say is in the execution of a study plan, I want to have what I call study blocks. So, Stephen, let's assume I'm your corporate trainer, you're a full-time studier. It's different if you're not a full-time studier because you're going to have to do it, but you still need study blocks. I say, Stephen, what do you think you're wired for? Most people aren't wired for like 8 hours of study. What I would recommend, Stephen, is 90-minute study blocks. You must take a 30-minute break between study blocks. So you come in Monday, we start, let's say, at 8. 8 to 9:30, 30-minute break, 10 to 11:30, take lunch, 1 to 2:30, 3 to 4:30. That's 6 hours of study time. That's a full day of studying. And that's what I would suggest you do. Now, activities. I would, in your study blocks, want you to rotate activities. I would not, your point, Stephen, unless you're in the mad dash to get through it cover to cover, as I recommended. Assuming you're going at a slower pace, I would want you in your study blocks to change activity. So what I mean by that is if you're reading in the first study block, maybe we're doing practice question in the second study block, watching a video in the third study block. If you rotate the activity, your brain will stay fresher longer. And then you can see based on that study block how many chapters a day you can get through. You say, hey, I can get through 2, I can get through 3, whatever, right? And then I would also, if you can, try and change the subject area. I wouldn't want you spending a whole day doing options, for example, because I think your brain will just go dead. So if you're going to mix it up, do some options, maybe in the study block you do a muni. If you mix up both activity and subject area, you'll stay fresher longer. Woo! Well, Jonathan, man, that is so cool. Cheers. Cheers, man. I love it. I love it. Well, hey, listen, I find it very gratifying. I have an attitude of gratitude for the contributions we make to testing victories like yourself. Now you get to use that, go out and, help clients, help yourself, help your family. I know, Jonathan, what your background is, but if you're poor, you deserve to be rich. The securities industry is a great place. What has made our channel number one? Can you believe it? We're coming up on 9 million views. I'm not sure if that's just one person watching 9 million times. 2 million plus watch hours. Wow. And the number one thing that's made our channel number one is contributions to test-taking victories like your, Jonathan, and then referrals from those victorious test takers. So that's one of my attitudes of gratitude. When I started the channel, we're coming up on our 5th year anniversary. I never in my wildest dream thought when I started this channel 5 years ago that we would be able to contribute to so many testing victories. So thank you for checking in with us. How cool is that? How cool is that? Pass the SIE on May 1st try. Woo! 7 first time tomorrow. All right. As I say, the journey of 3-0 begins with 1-0. Yeah, well, I think so, Sammy. I kind of talked about the variance as it relates to past perfect, but Kaplan has that positive variance too. In other words, you should pick up points. That's a good thing from Kaplan to the actual exam. It doesn't happen all the time. And then I told you that's my gripe about, achievable is the variance is not in your favor and it's, it's all over the place. 7 next week on Simulate. I love that. Most reason, man, there you go. Feeling nervous. No reason to feel nervous, Acolyte. I think you're right where you need to be. Yeah, I think go for it. Go for it. Well, there you go. Option. I'm a little different. I have a guy, a peer of mine, a good friend, Mark Esposito. He's a Kaplan instructor. He does options the same way as Ken Finnan. I'm not sure if Esposito copied Ken or Ken copied Mark. I'm not sure. There's lots of different ways to do options. But what even Esposito says, Acolyte, which I like, and Mark's a good instructor and he trades options. He says, you want to just pass the test and not understand it, then I'm your guy. If you want to understand and pass your test, then Dean's your guy. Now, I would tell you that I'm okay with that, Acolyte, because I think if you do understand something, then you don't have to memorize a bunch of junk, particularly as it relates to options. I always warn people. I mean, I got lots of memory aids for you at options. And I always say, okay, here's the fork in the road. You can either memorize this or you can understand it. If you go down the memory road, particularly in options, the amount of things you're going to have to memorize is going to compound. There's going to be more and more stuff. And I just think if you understand it and you say, hey, give me 125 option questions, man, bring it on. Bring it on. Pass the SIE now on a 766. I had a quick question regarding and how the month. I think I answered that. I think, Damien, I answered that. Series 4, I love it. I'm averaging 80, love it. So Kaplan, whenever you change vendor's name, I wouldn't worry too much about that because the phraseology changes. Whether you went from Kaplan to STC or you went STC to Kaplan, we would expect a drop. We would expect a drop in the scores just because of phraseology. And as I said, you don't want to get walked into the phraseology as much as trying to understand the concept. No problem. No problem, Damien. No problem. First day at the firm. They want me myself by the year. Any advice? How to start it? Well, by year end, I think that's plenty. This year end? or next year. It's 2025 or 2026. That's a big, big difference. Where are we at? We're coming in on 5 weeks. It's doable, but boy, you better put the pedal to the metal. I think, Martin, what I'd ask is, what is their expectation of how much time they're giving you? Are you getting like paid for the next 5 weeks to pass the 7? That would be, something I'd like to know. I think it's doable for sure. How to start the studying process? Reading. As we said, if, again, it's a buffet, take what you like, leave what you don't. But the way I always kick off any study effort that I'm undertaking is I read the book cover to cover and as close to one setting as possible. If you don't want to do that, at least try and read the book. So start with reading. If you're going to do it sequentially, like somebody told me they're doing unit 1, so let's say you're going to do it sequentially. Either watch a video and then read unit 1, this is our chapter 1, whatever your vendor's calling it. The video can put a dent in the reading. Or do the reading and then watch a video to consolidate that reading. Right? Once you've done that in unit 1, I would pull a custom quiz of 25 questions or so. 75%, you move on to unit 2. You don't get 75%, you remediate. You go backwards and fix it. Unit 2, rinse and repeat. But on unit 2, you don't move on after you do that quiz. You do a combined quiz of unit 1 and 2. Unit 3, same thing, and then a combined quiz of 1, 2, 3. You want to keep bringing up that caboose. By the time you matriculate through all those units, you'll be ready to be doing a practice test because you'll already be doing that in your custom quiz. You'll be close to 125 questions. I got 68 and 66. I love it. You just got to be confident, right? I told you, it depends who your vendor is, but the variance is in your favor. I was teaching a class. There were 20 students in the cohort, and there's a corporate trainer. And, what we're doing is Monday through Thursday is class. Friday's a practice exam. They test Monday. And in that cohort of 20 people, we had 6 of the 20 who got between 60 and 70. And Ariana, I told the corporate trainer we're going to lose 3 of the 6. She goes, which 3? I go, well, statistics. I don't know. If I knew that, we would go rescue them, but we don't. I said, there's no reason for people who get between 60 and 70 to miss their mark, but they get wobbly. And instead of being confident in their answers, they start overthinking things. They get negative self-talk. And then, they miss the exam. Now, I was so proud. All 6 of them passed. They didn't get wobbly. They finished strong. We went 6 for 6 on people who got between 60 and 70. So there's no reason you shouldn't pass with a 60% score, particularly high 60 on the actual exam. If you miss the mark, it's not because you didn't put in the work. That's why almost every firm, even on the real test, if you score and you miss the mark with a high 60, they give you another shot because they know you put in the work. So whatever it was, face a death draw, for example. I'm wishing for all of you a dream draw. Everything you studied shows up. You go, man, I don't know what the big deal was. You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. Woo! Josh, I love that. Let's see, my cigar still lit? I don't think so. There we go. Moving on to 7. Well, we got videos, we got audio, right? You can just put it on audio, getting lectures, I think, or what's that thing called, Speechify or something, where you can put it in there. I think Kaplan actually sells the book as an audio file. Can I get by using lectures and backdoor question? I think so. I mean, you know what kind of learner you are. You just got to make sure you compensate accordingly, and it sounds like you certainly are. So yeah, I think you can do it. Setting as parents start, then if site breaks, you can add it to. I'm not sure what that's about. When it comes to option but struggling at the math, pretty much the whole topic is there. A particular series on your channel you would look at every day. Well, I have over 200 videos on options, Stephen, but the first 4 are in sequential order, and it says these are a must watch. So start with those first 4 basic options, contracts, and then basic option strategies, then stock plus options hedges, and then advanced options. So start there. Pass the Series 7. Woo! Grayson. Oh, I'm so excited for you. Listen, that smile looks like somebody who passed. Oh, man, that's so cool. I'm so happy for you. If anybody deserves that, young lady, it's certainly you. You put in the work. Listen, Grayson is proof. Now, listen, she's a smart young lady. So sometimes I try and give a compliment. It comes out the wrong way. Grayson and I know each other well enough that she'll know what I mean by this. Passing this test is not a function of smarts. It's a function of being dedicated, disciplined, and organized. And Grayson, what it was a pleasure to work with you is you were dedicated, you were disciplined, and you were organized. Now, if you're missing one of those, then you got to add up somewhere. We just talk about your audible learner, right? If you're less organized, you need more dedication and discipline. But she was all those things. So, boy, I think you deserve that testing victory, my friend. And I'm so, so happy for you. So you deserve it. This is in your honor as well. I love that. Pass the SIE. Woohoo! Well, I love it. It looks like we got a lot of people matriculating. I love it. I love it. The channel, I was telling you, my attitude of gratitude here for Thanksgiving is that we have all kinds of people who have been matriculated through the channel, like SIE, they're 7, 66, 24, 53. So I think, Kim, we've been talking about this most of the night, I think. How to best study. I think I've said the way I would do it. It's a buffet. Take what you like, leave what you don't. I'd read the book cover to cover, as close to one setting as possible. If not that, then start with the reading. Start reading, and it's hey, it's not like reading a great Russian novel or something. It is what it is, right? So if you're going to skip that, then you got to pay the price. Make it up elsewhere. Another pass, Angel. Woohoo! Woohoo! Love it. Lots of victories. I wonder if there's ever going to be a night where I won't get to have a victory toast. That would be bad, wouldn't it? I pull out some Johnny Walker Blue and then nobody gives us a victory post and Dean's just staring at his Johnny Walker Blue. I think that's doable. I think that's, by the way, 63, I think your boss is being very nice. If you pass the 7 in 2025, I would hand you the 63 materials and say, I expect this to be done in 2 weeks. I don't like that that's March, because then it takes on epic proportions unnecessarily. I got a guy I'm working with. He got a 63 testing victory, thank God. But every time I suggest a date to him, and I want him to be comfortable and confident, he adds like another week to it. And I'm like, why? Let's get it done. Let's get it done. I like it. I like it. I love it. I love it, Angel. Love it. About to go on a plane to Scottsdale. I love Scottsdale. Man, I can't believe I'm a Sun Devil. I don't see Sparky back there. And every time I go to Phoenix, oh my God, it's urban sprawl compared to when I was there. I mean, I can't believe it. I'm coming from my off-grid location, and now about an hour out of Phoenix, I start hitting the burbs. A simple 2-week plan. No, I don't have such a thing. If I did, I'd probably sell it, and it would be a lot of money. All right, because simple 2-week plan. I don't. I have a simple plan. I think, like I say, you just have to compress what would be a normal study plan into 2 weeks. So are you a full-time study? Are you going to spend 8 hours, 10 hours? What are you going to be spending? Yeah, absolutely, Adam. I have some very popular videos, and I don't think you're going to learn these exams the night before. I don't think that at all, but I do think flow is important. And so the first in my series of the Mighty 90 was on the Uniform Securities Act. It's called the Mighty 90, and that's good for 63, 65, 66. I'll give you some backstage information. And what I attempted to do in the Mighty 90 was teach my 4-hour 63 class in 90 minutes, right? Because that was the attempt of me to teach because I thought, well, I don't want to do a 4-hour 63 video, but I was able to do it. It's compressed. I also have the 63 in 60 minutes. Very popular. By the way, I think in both those videos, go to the comments. It's good motivation. Lots of victorious test takers commenting, some debrief down there. So those would be two, the Mighty 90 on the Uniform Securities Act and your Series 63 in 60 minutes. Those would be two. How often do firms sponsor tests again if you fail the first time? Every firm's different, Martin, but most firms I think you get a 60% plus. Most of them send you back. In my firm, I was the same way. If you got below 60, I'm going to let you go. I'm saying below 60 means you have a knowledge deficit problem. You didn't put in the work. Now, obviously, if you're working at Primerica and you're doing this while you're delivering water or something, my gas propane delivery lady was taking her SIE and she's doing it on the side. Well, that's a different gig. But if you're a full-time studier, 60 plus, almost everybody. I tell you, hey, get a 60 plus, I'm going to send you back down there again. But it's always better to pass the first time. All right. Woo! Yeah, I think so. I think people respect sweat equity. That you come in already and you've already passed a test. They don't have to. That uncertainty is out of their mind. So yeah. On the SIE, there were none. Yeah, there's no multiples of multiples on FINRA exams. The only place you encounter multiples of multiples are NASAA exams. Hey, all right. I love that. Okay, cool. Thanks for joining us. I teach once a quarter a class for Kaplan. I do a 7 the first month of each quarter or second month of each quarter. And I do a 66 the third month of the quarter. But hey, Gabriel, I'm done for the year with my friends at Kaplan. Oh, I'm so excited. Scored a 69 on the 65 last week. What are your suggestions going forward? When to take it next? Well, if you go to the video description in this live stream, you'll see you failed a video. I have a podcast called You Failed, Is It Over? Spoiler alert, the answer is no. And I have my 5 recommendations about how to respond to this misfortune. So check that out. The first, Andrew, I'll give you the first recommendation of the 5 is to do a debrief with yourself, to get the 65 test specifications and go through it and find where you say plus means I own this did me in. 0 means par, and then you're looking for minuses. That means below par. And those are the ones you want to bring back up. So that's my first recommendation, is just sit down with yourself while the hurt is fresh and do an intellectual inventory. All right, love it. There's the hat trick. Love it. You've been binge watching all the videos. Well, thank you. After 7 days, I went on the 63 and then failed. Okay, well, you just got to redeem yourself. 30-day wait. I can't imagine that you're going to miss the 63 a second time. Make sure, though, when you fail, don't study just the things you miss, because the draws are random. I don't want to sound negative vibe, but sometimes when people fail and miss the mark twice, it's because they plug the gap on the previous draw and didn't understand that the draws are different, and they get a different draw, and then they're in trouble. So that's my suggestion. Tomorrow afternoon, I love it. Cristiano Beast, I love it. I actually bought a little candy from Mr. Beast on YouTube. I know he has a candy company. I was taking mom shopping, and there was Mr. Beast's little candy there. You should be great. So Cristiano, get some rest, man. Get some rest. That's all you got to do, right? Just got to know, you got to stick the landing. That's all you got to do. I'm smoking an Oliva Series O, which is kind of a mild, creamy kind of cigar. I'm a big Oliva fan, so I haven't decided. I'd be interested to what you think. I've decided, living off grid, I don't really get into Vegas or Phoenix or Scottsdale much, and so I'm kind of Tuesdays, smoking and drinking. my excuse to smoke and drink. Ashton is a nice cigar as well. There you go. Yeah, I think that's, why not? A victory cigar for sure. Fitness training consultants. I read the book and I watched the videos and took notes. I like that. Okay, cool. A training consultant, I kind of would put in the category of achievable in this regard. Make sure you supplement on their practice questions. I think they're a little skinny. So whether it's, my YouTube channel or Brian's, supplements, make sure you supplement. 60 drives a day, got a 73, second one 65. There you go, right? Any tips? I like what you're doing. A 16th. I would not continue to do practice tests if you got 2 more weeks plus. I would do remediation. I'd go back and lay some more base. Find those areas on those exams through remediation where you can go back and watch a video, do the reading, watch a video, do some practice questions. And I think if you spend another 3-4 days laying some more base, I think those scores will pop. I think those scores will pop into the mid 70s, and that's where we want you to be. Oh, there you go. Okay. I wasn't sure what that was about. Oh man, I'll tell you. Well, geez, Grayson, listen, Grayson's study plan had a high beta, a high volatility, right? So, no need to tear up. At least these are victory tears, right? So, Grayson, you deserve it. You so deserve it. All right. Well, that looks like our designation like CFP. I'll answer that and then we'll do our drawing. Looks like we're at the end of our time together. I came into the business when it was still, I was a stockbroker in the 80s, right? I led with products and investments transactions. Our business has become way more relationship oriented today. And I think a CFP designation, financial planning designation, can be helpful in building those relationships. Do I think it's necessary? I don't, but if I would have stayed in the business on the retail side, I started out retail and ended up institutional banker, institutional broker kind of guy. But if I would have stayed in the business, probably would have got a CFP perhaps. But I think the CFA is a waste of time. I think that designation means nothing, and it's a lot of work and a lot of money, and it really doesn't mean anything. But CFP, I'm a fan of. There you go. There you go. There you go. I love it. All right. So now let's we do our drawing. Let me go find our Wheel of Fortune. And don't put anything into the chat till I tell you, because it'll mess up. But I'm going to put a word on the chat. And then if you want to participate, you would put that in there. Let's put you got to put it in just how I have it. If you don't put it in exactly how I have it, it won't show up. So let me go grab it. Boom. Boom. I got to make sure I got this right. Okay. And here we go. Let me go find that for us. Boom. Whoop. There we go. Well, I got to put it over here. Hold on. There we go. Can you guys see that? I'm not sure you can see it. Hold on. Let me another shot here. Cancel. Share screen. Boom. There we go. All right. Woohoo! Grayson makes her mark. Grayson makes her mark. You got to put it in the chat exactly as you see it. Yeah, Grayson, I'll pick the next title whenever I pick it, and it'll be on the class tab, but I'll certainly let you know. All right. Anybody want? Did I give you guys too much to put in the chat? Maybe that was a little overwhelming, right? We have no entries. There we go. There is one. Elizabeth got it. Lauren got it. Okay. All right. We're up to 5. Going once. 8. 9. Last call. Last call. 11. Okay. Still going. 14. All right. I'm sorry, Grayson, I put your business on blast. Oh, well. 15. Okay. Any more? Are we going to squeeze the trigger? Now, remember, you don't win a tutoring session at a date and time of your choice. What you win is a coaching call. I'll put that, how you do that. I'll put it back up. You go to deantenneytutoring.setmore.com. There's a class tab that says coaching call for winners, and you just register that and it sends you a Zoom link. 17. Okay, last call. Time to spin the wheel. Okay, here we go. Boom. Tomorrow's Intel. Okay, so you're the winner. Let me put the banner back up there, and to claim your winnings, let's go. Where's my mouse? There's my mouse. You go to deantenneytutoring.setmore.com. There'll be a class tab. On the class tab, you hit coaching call. If it's not there, it's because I haven't put it up there yet because we just did it yesterday. So I got to put another one up. So give me till tomorrow. If you don't hear it, send me an email, and I'm more than happy to take care of that for you. Well, okay. Well, remember, inch by inch, your exam is a cinch, yard by yard. Your exam is hard. You take the test. Don't let the test take you. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Make sure, even if you're studying, make sure you give yourself a pause to enjoy the food, family, fellowship. If you're a football guy, some great football for guys and gals on Thursday. Do get some rest. Sometimes you take a strategic pause like that, you'd be surprised how much your scores will drop. I've literally had people working too hard, and I said, listen, you got to take a day off. Why not make it Thanksgiving? Come back to it, let your brain a little lay fallow, and I'm sure your scores will pop. I've had people have pops of like 8 points just taking a day off. All right. I'll see you next Tuesday, 5 p.m. Let me know your thoughts about, I think we may skip like December 22nd or 23rd or something. But hey, if people show up, I'm more than happy to be here for you. All right. Bye-bye.